Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Eshan aka Push for Life, and thank you so much for stopping by and checking out my brand new podcast, Music, Sounds, and Silence. Right now, it is January 2018, but the following 4 podcasts that you are about to listen to were actually recorded in December of 2017. I've been wanting to do this podcast for quite a while now, but as you all know, there's just never the right, perfect time to get started. So I decided to just go for it, hit record, and see what happens. As you can imagine, being new to podcasting, it takes a little while to get used to just speaking into a microphone with no one there. So this first episode that follows is really me warming up to the process. So grab a coffee, sit back, relax, go for a jog, or whatever it is you do when you listen to a podcast, and I will see you shortly. Oh yeah, and just in case you're interested, each episode has its own webpage over at musicsoundsandsilence.com, where I will be listing links and various resources that I mention in each episode. So make sure to check that out too. Right, let's do this. The reason that I have decided to start this podcast is because I feel for the past 2 years since I have created my Push for Life persona online, I've been doing these tutorials for Ableton PUSH, and I've been trying to introduce the concepts of the push in a beginner's format. And the reason I've done that is because I really do believe that you need a good foundation with anything that you learn, because at the end of the day, anything more intermediate or advanced needs to be built upon a solid foundation. So I thought, I'm not just going to assume that people have this solid foundation before I move to more intermediate and advanced topics. I'm going to help people get that solid foundation. And that is really what I've been trying to do for the past few years. I put out a finger drumming bootcamp, which isn't specific to push, but I used my push to make it. And that is where I show people how to or I give people an understanding of what it is that drum beats are made of, you know, the basic building blocks, so to speak. And then I put out another course called Make Music with Ease on Ableton PUSH 2. And the first course within that line is all about composition. I've just been showing people, you know, basic stuff and always been very concerned and focused on just getting the information out there in the most simplest, basic form possible. And it's been a lot of fun, but to be honest, right now, I kind of feel burned out just doing this beginner stuff all the time, just putting out this material, because obviously I've been a musician for 20 plus years. I've done a lot of things, and I have a lot of more intermediate and advanced topics that I'd also like to share with you guys. I'm so passionate about podcasting. I 80% of the time I have headphones on where I'm listening to something in the week, it's podcasts I listen to. I love the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, for instance. I love the Joe Rogan Experience, the Church of What's Happening Now. For all those people out there who know about podcasts, they are some of my favorite podcasts. I also feel like I don't just enjoy listening to it. I know that I enjoy putting my own stuff out there. That's why I love to put tutorials out there, because I like to put my ideas out into the world and give my own spin on it. And I just have so much stuff that I want to talk about. If I was to put it all into course format, it would literally take me months and months and months of just being isolated in my studio, trying to put something together. And to be honest with you, when you're doing something like an online course and you're doing it for 6 months in your studio, it's extremely isolating. You know, I've been documenting stuff like that on my Instagram stories and also on my Instagram feed. But at the end of the day, you're just also working on the same topic forever, it feels like. And the great thing about podcasting is, you know, all I'm doing right now is I'm sitting in my studio, I've hooked up a mic, and I'm just free flow talking about whatever's on my mind at this given moment. It's just extremely efficient, and it's extremely liberating to just sort of put it out there, and I can share it with you guys almost instantly, and also get some kind of feedback loop going with whoever's interested in sending me emails with feedback or commenting on YouTube or whatever. That's just a lot more motivating. I don't feel so isolated. And I also just feel like I can share so much more of what's going on in my head with whoever wants to listen, basically. The reason I call this podcast Music, Sounds and Silence is because a podcast title really is there to hopefully give the audience an idea of what they can expect. And I took quite a while in order to encapsulate what it was I was going for. For any musician out there, if you are really a passionate musician, I think I can speak for almost everyone. Music is almost like an obsession. It's, at least for me it is. It's always on my mind. If I'm not in my studio, I might have some sort of melody or rhythms going on in my head. As a drummer, I'm tapping on tables or on my knees or just with my fingers. I'm fidgety. But that literally is the current of music that is just constantly on in my brain. The thing is, and I don't even really understand the difference myself right now. I understand it on an abstract level, but there's music and then there's sound. I think everyone has their own definition of what music is to them, but music is a subset of sound, obviously. I'm also just very much interested in sound itself and what constitutes sound and how different sounds are made up and what sound does to our brains and to our bodies and to our spirit. That then leads me to silence, because without silence there could be no sound, there could be no music, right? So that brings me to another aspect of silence that I also find extremely intriguing, and that is because I'm very much into meditation and into spirituality. And when I create sound and I create music, there's always an undercurrent of spirituality within the music that I create, especially if it's coming from the heart. Obviously, if I'm just there and I'm making some kind of beat just to try stuff out, there might not be anything spiritual in that. But if I'm really making music from my heart and from my soul, it is definitely infused with spirit. Spirit, I would say, also comes from silence. Hence the name Music, Sounds and Silence. So these are topics that I will be covering in this podcast, but I leave myself room to go beyond those topics if I feel to. So this podcast really is within the sort of push for life thing that I've created, but I think at the end of the day, there's going to just be a lot of Eshan in there. Eshan is my name. You know, I'm a human being with a lot of different interests. They really all can be channeled into music and sound. Like I said, I hope to be covering those main topics, but also be going out and maybe talking about art in general and all kinds of stuff. Also, you know, if you guys give me some feedback, that will trigger off some topics. One other thing I wanted to mention is I think for now, I'm just going to be putting out monologues where I'm just speaking. And that really is to really introduce my audience to me, to Eshan, Push for Life, whatever it is you want to call me. But just for you guys to get to know me and to get a feel for who I am as a person and for my interests, and also for my spin on certain topics. And then when I kind of feel like I've gotten that out of my system, you know, hopefully within, you know, maybe 4 or 5 episodes, then I am going to try and just get some guests on here, people who I've worked with over the years. I already have a handful of people who have actually said they want to come on the podcast and just talk. And I'm not going to say I don't want to be interviewing these people, because that's not really what I enjoy listening to myself, like a real hardcore interview where there's a questioner and someone who is answering. Much more, I just want to have conversations with these people, just as I would if I was on my own, and share with everyone. And I have a lot of interesting people who I've met over the decades of being a musician who I feel will just have a lot of interesting perspectives for my audience. One of the big reasons why I'm doing the podcast as I am is I want to hear from you guys. I want you guys to send me emails to Eshan, Eshan, at musicsoundsandsilence.com. Let me know if there's stuff that you like, if there's stuff that you don't like, and let's have a dialogue with each other. My dream would be for your feedback to make its way into the podcast, and that way to create some sort of circular kind of vibe between myself and my audience. So anyway, thank you very much for listening. I hope that this is going to be a regular thing. You know, if things don't pan out and I feel like there isn't too much interest, or it's very taxing on me to do the podcast, which I doubt, but you know, you never know what can happen in life. I also give myself the option to stop this thing again if it's just not working out. But you know, if I feel like there's a resonance within the community and my audience, I know it's something that will motivate me to keep going on. So hopefully this will be the start of something very, very cool. I'm very excited, to be honest. Fingers crossed that this continues as it has started, because this podcast itself has been a lot of fun. I hope you all take care, and I shall see you in the next episode. Peace.